So I found on the internet some different pictures of Jane Austen. And so what I've done is just resize them to a size that fits my frame. Now these are Stampin' Up frames. I apologize, they are no longer available, but they're also not only dies, but they're embossing folders. So what I've done is I have printed her portrait out on 110-pound cardstock, and then her portrait fits quite nicely in there. So with this, I'm going to die cut it out first, and then I will emboss it. Now, just because you don't have these dies and embossing folders, you could use something else. You could just use an oval for your picture and then emboss it or watercolor around it or something like that. So I'm going to cut this out and then emboss it. So what I've done is run the image through my die cut first, and it cut out her portrait. But then I had to run a piece, and I decided to, instead of the white cardstock, to use very vanilla, kind of a beige color. So I also ran that through the die cut, and it gave me this image. And then I ran it through my embossing folder, which gave me this beautiful raised edge. So now when I place her portrait in there, it's got a nice edge around it. So we're going to work on this to age it up and make it look like a metal frame. So remember, this is only some cardstock, and I want to try to strengthen it up. So I'm going to take some of this acrylic paint and paint over it, and hopefully that will give it a little bit of strength. It's this pretty much the same color as the cardstock itself. So through the speeded up segments, I might just do a little voiceover and chit chat with you guys. Like I said, this journal is already spoken for. However, because I have so much ephemera and pages from the kit, I will be making a second one. So if you would like to purchase it, please let me know. So I went ahead and also with the acrylic paint, I did paint the back again. I'm trying to achieve a little bit of strength, and I can tell by holding it, it does feel a little bit stronger. So while that is completely drying, I'm going to emboss her picture. So I have my Versamark ink here. And then this is vintage beeswax from Seth Apter. And I bought this directly off of his site. So what I'm going to do is just press my picture. And I may have to do a couple of different layers. But I'm going to just put my Versamark ink here. And then just pour some of this over the top and heat it. For my new subscribers, just a little background on myself. I have been a paper crafter for 3 years or so, and a journal maker only for about maybe a year and a half. I am a registered nurse and have been for 46 years. Presently, I work in the labor and delivery department, and fly back and forth from Arizona to California for my work. I had great shifts my last 4 days of work. Actually, 3 days were on the floor working, and then my last day was taking a class that's called Stable, and it's to stable a newborn after delivery, and if they need any help with transitioning from being in utero to out into the world, we're there to help them. So great shifts. And you want to make sure that as you look at it, that all the crystals are melted. And I can tell it's a little bumpy. So I'm going to melt it a little bit more and then put another layer of the beeswax on there. Okay, I'm going to let that cool off a little bit. Gotta have my morning drink. Cheers, everyone. Alrighty. The other thing that I have, and it may put it on too thick, but this is embossing fluid that's in a brush. I did try it one time and it seemed to go on pretty thick, so I'm going to hold off on using that. I'm sure there will be a time when I will use it. Let's put on another layer. I know Artie Mays, when she does this, she puts on several layers, like 2 to 3 layers. And it will make your image look like there's glass over it. Okay, let's bring our powder back in. It's a very coarse embossing powder, kind of thick. And you want something to hold it down. I've had them blow away with my heat gun, so. That's actually looking pretty good. Sorry to... I may even go one more layer. I'm going to let that dry for a minute and decide if I want another layer or not. Okay, I'm very pleased with that. If I hold it up, see, you can see the shimmer. It makes it look like glass. So I like that. And then the other thing I did is run my frame through my embossing folder again, just to give a really good imprint of this embossed area. And then I just wanted to show you a couple of things. So if you're interested in buying any of the Seth Apter spray inks, they're made in France. I said this looks pinkish and it's coffee, and that's it sprayed on white paper. And then this one here is the tea color, but you can see it almost looks maroon, like a maroon, I think. And anyway, I thought it really looked pinkish, so that's that on white. And what I do is, now here is my vintage photo, I spray it on white paper, and then I'll cut a piece of this out and tape it to my bottles, and then that way I know what the color looks like. So I do want the coffee, the vintage photo on this frame. So I'm just going to spray just a tiny bit around it. And then a little bit of water to thin it out. And then pick it up and kind of move some of that stain around. I may spray just a tiny bit more. Okay, I think we'll leave that like that because I'm going to add other embellishments. Now this is interesting. This is turning a really dark, kind of a brown color in there. Oh, duh, because, oh, Hewitt, you're just like, you're so crazy sometimes. It's because you used a brown color of spray. Oh, sister. I might spray just a tiny bit more. I kind of like that dark color. I may just kind of leave that full strength on there. No, I'll put a little more water. It doesn't spread like I want it to. It's just sucking that up. I like that though. Boy, it just sucks that up in there. But look at how beautiful that is. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone for a little while and let it dry. We'll go from there. Okay, my frame is almost dried, and so now I want to put a little bit of wax paste to make the embossing stand out. And I have some samples here. This is a turtle green that I have. This is the brass. That's that one. This is a dark color. I think I've shown you these before. They're a set of gilding wax that I got off of Amazon. And so they're quite nice. But I think I'm going to use both the brass and the walnut. So all you have to do is just take a little bit on your finger and rub it over the area, and look at how nice that brings up that embossed area. Yeah, that's pretty. And then I think I'm going to put a little bit also of that, like I said, this brass. This stuff is fantastic. This is a little bit thicker. This is, let's see, what brand is this? I don't even know if it says metallic rub-ons. I don't know if I even see a brand. But this is Pentart, which I like that brand. It's fantastic. And this is it just goes on so smoothly. I think I'm going to go a little bit around the edge. So my daughter, her husband, and my 3 grandchildren live about an hour from me. And so I'm in the process of selling my home and buying a new home, probably downsizing a little bit. It was my printer resetting. Now, you know you are a serious crafter when you're contemplating a move and you think, okay, my craft room is going to be the very last thing I pack up, and it's going to be the very first thing I unpack when I move into a new place. Rachel, you just moved while you're renovating your place where you live. And so I know you did exactly the same thing. But I'm excited because I will probably pick one of the biggest rooms in the new place for my craft room because I'm definitely running out of room in my craft room that I have now. And it's a pretty good sized room, but you just don't have enough room for what, all we need for our crafting. So let me continue on with this and we'll go from there. I think that's going to come out really nice. So I'm going to set that aside to dry. Now let's put just a tiny little bit of crackle paste on this to kind of also make it look aged. And I'm just going to take my hand because I only want it in a couple of small little spots. And then we'll let that dry. The other thing I'm going to do is I notice my picture is just a tiny bit smaller now than my frame. So I'm glad I saved this because what I'm going to do is put a little bit of the bronze waxed paste around this part. Just in case some of it shows through. And then I'm just going to take some tape and adhere my picture into this, and then it will also still mount behind here. So I'm just gonna put that there and then just bring in a little bit of just plain old Scotch tape or masking tape. And so then when I put this here, it will glue down a little bit better. I also am going to add a little bit around here, or even just some of this. No, this I have more of. So I'm just going to go right around in here. Okay, I'm pleased at how the crackle paste, the effect that it had on parts of the frame. It makes it look not quite so new. So then now I'm going to go back over it, those areas, with that walnut and also a little bit of the bronze or the brass. Yeah, this one here. Yeah, you can still see just a little bit of that crackle there. And so then all we have to do now is glue these two together. And I'm trying to decide, I think I'm going to flat glue it. Yeah, I'm going to just flat glue it down with some Beacon's 3-in-1 glue. So I'm going to run my glue. Let me back you out a little bit because I know I'm probably, whoop, wrong way. Just going to run it around the edge here. I'm extremely pleased at how this turned out. I think it really looks like a metal frame and with a glass photo of Jane Austen in there. Just need to hold it down because of the embossing. It's wanting to buckle up a little bit. So I was just about ready to glue this in the journal, and I realized I wanted to put a glaze over the top. So I'm going to still try to do it if I can get the jar open. Oh, I may have to go run this. Oh no, I got it. I was going to think I got to go run this underneath the hot water. But anyway, I got it. So I'm going to try to be very, very careful because I don't want it over the picture. So this has dried now, and let's bring it in and put it in our journal. And I want it toward the front of the book. I thought maybe here, but I think it doesn't quite look good enough there because I've got this image of this woman here. But on the very next page, I have this paper, and I think that just looks perfect there. So I'm going to glue that in just using my 3-in-1 Beacons glue. And I'm very pleased at how it turned out. And then I have this little plate here. Oh, but I think I want to get a book plate. Let me see what I have in my stash. So I'm glad I thought about this. I have these labels. I believe they were free from someone. I can't remember. But they have some plain ones and then they have journal ones. So what I did is I cut one out and then I took some of the same wax paste that I used around the frame and I put it around this. It's only paper. And then I also put some of that same brass wax paste around her name. So I'm pleased with that. I think that came out great. So that page is complete. Thanks for joining me, everyone, and I appreciate you coming along for the ride. And I will see you guys next Monday. Bye.